All right. So this video, I'm probably gonna call it "The Misogyny in Hip Hop Part One." How did it all begin? And the reason I wanted to make this video is because, you know, recently, weeks ago, the City Girls, they were on the Breakfast Club, and they were they were making statements talking about how men are threatened by women taking over hip hop and shit and stuff like that. And recently, since this really goes back to me to like Cardi B last year. Remember, Cardi B got exposed for saying she used to drug and rob men, and people kind of, and remember, this came out like in the aftermath of surviving R. Kelly, and also the aftermath of Bill Cosby getting his ass locked up. So, that Cardi B news kind of came and went. And we've seen a lot of misandry, misandry from women towards men in hip hop lately. Sadie Girls, Megan Thee Stallion, and shit like that. And it goes back further than that. It goes back to Lil Kim, and even in R&B. Remember TLC? TLC had a song called "No Scrub," "No More Scrubs," and everything, and stuff like that. So this has been going on for a while. The gender war and you know in the Negro communities in America has been going on for years, decades, hell, probably a century. I don't know, but I want to get to the root of the problem, and I'm gonna get to the hip hop part of it in a minute. But we gotta start with the feminist angle. Okay, this is what we understand: the guys who introduced misogyny per se in hip hop. You know, let's be real. And look, I didn't grow up in the '80s and everything. Grew up in the '80s, so people who grew up in that era can correct me if I'm wrong, but the guys who really introduced misogyny in hip hop were, of course, the legendary group NWA, the Two Live Crew, and Too Short. Those guys, the Two Live Crew, have very sexually explicit lyrics, and they got banned and arrested for performing those songs. Of course, NWA had violent misogyny. A bitch is a bitch, and listen to Ice Cube, the beginning of Ice Cube's second verse on Dope Man. You need a nigga with money, so you get a dope man. Juice that fool for as much as you can. She like his car, and he get with her. Got a black eye, cause the dope man hit her, and stuff like that. Then if you listen to their last album, Niggas for Life, that was very grimy and quote unquote misogynist and all that shit. And then, of course, Too Short. Enough said. People who know Too Short, listen to Too Short. That's enough said. Okay, but we gotta understand this about those guys. All those guys, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, all those guys were born in the 1960s. Okay, what was going on in the 1960s in America? You had the counterculture movement going on, the civil rights movement, and then later in the late 60s you had the feminist movement. Okay, 1969 you had the Stonewall riots when all those LGBTQIA people, whatever the hell, or as Dave Chappelle called them, the people who sold 20% of the alphabet, they rioted in Stonewall and in Manhattan, I believe. All that stuff going on in the late 60s. Then in the late 70s, you had the black feminist movement, okay, which was led by Michelle Wallace. Really, if we want to be real and be honest with it, was led by Gloria Steinem. Okay, she was the she was the Emperor Palpatine to Michelle Wallace and Alice Walker's to Darth Vader. Okay, she was the real mastermind behind that. Okay, and you gotta remember, Ice Cube, Too Short, Uncle Luke, all these guys, Dre, Easy, they all grew up in that era. Okay, and they grew up in the era. They grew up in, of course, Compton, South Central LA, and Oakland and Miami, respectively. Ghettos in America. And some of them, Ice Cube, I believe, came from a two-parent home. I believe Eazy-E did too. And one of those guys probably did. But for the most part, they grew up in the hood, and women. Most of the women they probably grew up with, girls that went to school with, didn't have fathers. So, because by that time you had welfare. But the feminist movement really, got black women thinking about welfare, thinking about like, wait a minute, I don't need to be a man. I don't need to be with this nigga. I could just leave him. I just have him get me pregnant and leave his ass, put him on child support, and raise the kids by myself. If the kids turn out well, I can take all the credit. If they turn out to be criminals and thugs, I can just blame the man. And that's a shame, man. Society will blame the man for not being there when the man was ran off. Some of these men get ran off. They want to be fathers of the kids, but they get ran off. Okay, and hell, to be honest with you, even some of the kids get blamed. The kids, the boys, especially if they're boys, they get blamed for being criminals and thugs, before they blame the mother. They'll be like, oh, your mother did everything for y'all, and y'all, selling dope and pimping and robbing and killing and all this shit, man. It's craziness. But anyway, get back to the point. You had these guys, NWA, the 2 Live Crew, and Too Short, and all of them growing up in that era. And of course, that created a lot of toxicity. They were trying to create toxicity between the black man and the black woman in those days or so-called black man and so-called black woman, because that's the one thing we had over Caucasians in America. That's one of the many things we had over Caucasians in America at that time. We had a strong family unit headed by the so-called black man. We had that over the Caucasians, and, of course, they couldn't have that because they were trying to break us down and tear us apart. Okay, so then they send that CIA operative, Gloria Steinem, and this woman here, Michelle Wallace, wrote a book called, here she is on the cover of Gloria Steinem's magazine, Miss Magazine. She wrote this book right here, Black Macho and the Myth of the Superwoman, which is basically a hit piece on black men. Okay, it's basically a NAS book, niggas ain't shit book, basically, if we want to be honest. But yeah, they were trying to create toxicity and divide between the black man and the black woman in that community. And, well, let's be for real, they succeeded. Okay, because, black men and black women cannot stand each other in society, okay? They just can't. But, But anyway. Yeah, this is Gloria Steinem, by the way. For all you don't know who she is. You know what's crazy about Gloria Steinem? Gloria Steinem apparently was fucking around with Jim Brown. She's fucking around with Jim Brown, the all-time great NFL running back for the Cleveland Browns, and Mr. Woke. He held the Ali Summit in '67 when Ali didn't want to go to the war. All that type of stuff. And Bob Arum paid those guys to convince Ali to go fight in the war. Okay, that's the truth about that. Bob Arum even said it. That you can look it up. But yeah, Gloria Steinem, man. You can kind of, she's one of these people, like, you can look at her face and she's got demons, man. Gloria Steinem's got demons. She's probably one of these people who pop some antidepressants every day, man. A lot of these feminist broads, man, they're depressed. But they put on a front and bullshit when they're on camera. Give off the energy, I'm a strong, independent woman. I'm a strong, independent black woman. They go home, they popping pills, antidepressant pills, drinking wine, and they're miserable as hell. Some of them probably are borderline suicidal. It's crazy. Anyway, this is Alice Walker. Alice Walker, for all you who don't know, she wrote that toxic piece of trash, The Color Purple, the novel in 1982, which got made to a movie in 1985. Now, isn't it funny? Now, the movie came out in 1985. Okay, it came out smack dab in the middle of the 80s. What was going on in the 1980s in the quote-unquote black community? Okay, Reaganomics, the crack epidemic, AIDS, HIV crisis, all that was going on, and by the 80s, the quote-unquote black family was completely destroyed. Okay, completely destroyed and completely dissolved, man. Yeah, now these young boys are being brought up in single mother homes, raised by their moms and grandmas, their aunts. There's no male figure in the house, No one teach them how to be a man, and they pick up the feminine energy from their mother, and now they're all emotional and think and act like bitches, not in a disrespectful sense, but just being real. And this movie came out smack dab in the middle of the 80s, in 85. Anybody seen that movie? Motherfuckers couldn't even get on the horses right. The black men in that movie couldn't get on the horses right. Alice Walker depicted them as, monsters, man. Depicted them as monsters, man. Molesting, physically beating, and all this shit. And look, I'm not saying that shit's okay. I'm not saying that at all. But come on, like, she kind of went overboard with it. Alice Walker, you can tell she's a big man hater. And what's crazy? Her own daughter doesn't even like her no more. Her own daughter. Alice Walker's daughter is Rebecca Walker, and her father is a Caucasian Jewish man. Okay? A Caucasian Jewish man, a lot of these pro-blacks who call the black woman queens and gods, they don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a flying fuck about you, okay? They just use you and use your deaths like George Floyd and Rashard Brooks and Ahmaud Arbery. Just use your energy to get attention for themselves. Like, when was the last time someone brought up George Floyd's name or Ahmaud Arbery's name? All I've been hearing is Breonna Taylor's name, but we're just gonna let that slide for now. But yeah, Alice Walker, her daughter is her baby daddy is a Caucasian Jewish man, and according to her daughter's name is Rebecca Walker. Her daughter would ruin all her relationships with boys. Every time she brought a boy home, she would sabotage it, and she wouldn't let her play with dolls. And according to Rebecca Walker, Alice Walker stated that having children is a way to hold women down and hold women back. Okay? Now, and I believe she said she was 7 years old. She was a little kid when she said this. Can you imagine that? Being a 7, 8-year-old kid and your own mother, or own parent in general, but in this case, mother, saying that shit? Yeah, thank God I was walking to have a son, because that boy would probably be dead or a homosexual. One of those two. Okay, but, and when Rebecca Walker told Alice that she was pregnant with her son, Alice, wasn't excited about it, and Rebecca Walker got off the phone and cried about it and whatnot. It's sad, but hey. Yeah, this is the cover for The Color Purple, and you see here, Celie, played by Whoopi Goldberg, she got the knife up to to this dude's neck. Okay, this is what they want. This is what they were trying to do in the so-called black community, and they succeeded. Create divide. Look at this. She got a knife to his neck, ready to kill him. Okay? This is what they were trying to do in the black community for decades, and succeeded. By the 80s, they succeeded. Okay, and we're still feeling the effects of it today, 30 plus years later. Now, this here, as you can see, it says the African American family structure. Okay, it says non-marital birth rates in the United States between 1940 and 2014. As you can see, the purple line is black, the so-called black people. Okay, now if you look closely right here, the uptick in non-marital birth rates in the African American community took place right before 1970. Okay, so you can say it started around as you see here, going back to 1965, 60 and forward. The black community is not on the line, on the graph. But in 1967, 68, that's when we got on the graph, and then it went up and up and up, and it looked like it peaked in 2010. Okay? What was going on in the late 60s, 70s, and 80s? The black feminist movement, the crack epidemic, AIDS, Reaganomics, all that shit, man. It was just tragic, They were creating the divide between black men and black women, and like I said, they succeeded. Yeah, out of wedlock birth rates by race in the United States from 1940 to 2014. This is via the National Vital Statistics System, okay, and the CDC, National Center for Health Statistics. Okay, now we get to the hip hop. I pretty much went over the hip hop part of it, but all these guys, Ice Cube, Eazy, MC Ren, Arabian Prince, Dr. Dre, DJ Yella, all of them, they all grew up in that era. Eazy-E was born in 1964, Dre was born in 65, Cube was born in 69, Ren was born in 69. I believe they're a day apart. They all grew up in that era, that toxic black feminist movement era. Okay, the 2 Live Crew all grew up in that era. Too Short, he grew up in that era, man. So, if you want to be honest, the misogyny in hip-hop, women talk about why there's so much misogyny in hip-hop, or at least back then there was. It's kind of softened up in the last couple of years, in my opinion. But when one asks why there's so much misogyny in hip-hop, if we want to be real, y'all started it. Y'all started. Look, I'm not into the blame game, the gender war, the boy-girl competition, all that's just a distraction. They're trying to distract us and keep us down. Okay, man. Okay, man, don't engage in that bullshit. Just leave it alone. Let it be. Yeah. Just don't engage in that crap. Just let it go, man. let it go. But the reason there's so much misogyny in hip hop, if we're gonna be real honest about it, the black women started it. Y'all started it in the 60s and 70s. You know, you had Diana Ross. Diana Ross was talking about what men need to do for women. You know, Diana Ross, what black men need to do for black women. You know what's so funny? Diana Ross, she was the one that started the weave wearing phenomenon amongst black women. You know, black women today love to blame black men for why they don't go natural. Y'all niggas don't like our natural hair. You know, that's why we wear weaves and wigs. Nowadays, it's just wigs. You know what I'm saying? These bitches wearing straight up wigs, bro. It's crazy, but Diana Ross was the one who started it. And the reason she started wearing weaves is because she was trying to look like a Caucasian woman. The reason she's trying to look like a Caucasian woman is because her husband was a Caucasian man. Okay? And that's where we get Trace Ellis Ross. Okay, and look, you like what you like, man. You like what you like. I got nothing against that. But, you know, for black women today who want to blame black men for wearing weaves, nah. Go to your, you know, your mother goddess queen figure, Diana Ross. She was the one who started it. Okay? You know, and then Janet Jackson, you know, she did that. She had that song, What Have You Done For Me Lately? And that's why Eddie Murphy mocked her dumb ass in Raw. You know how he flipped it in Raw? What have you done for me lately? It's just crazy, but yeah, I'm probably going to make a part 2 to this video. So see y'all later.